Hello and welcome to Faith Talk. I am your host, Mthobisi. The need for purpose is one of the defining characteristics for human beings. People crave purpose and even suffer serious psychological difficulties if they don't have one. Today, we are talking about purpose, and with me on stage, I have a born and bred in KwaZulu-Natal author, motivational speaker, and an academic, Mthobisi Ndaba.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. We're talking about purpose today.
Yeah.
And you have in one of your books called Pushed by Passion. You touch on that.
Yeah.
What is purpose?
The most basic definition of purpose is that it is your reason for living. Others would even say it's your why of life. So it's basically why you're alive.
Awesome. Are there any misconceptions?
Yeah, I think there are some misconceptions that people have about what purpose is or is about. For example, a lot of people might think that purpose is about themselves, whereas actually it is not really about you, even though it's given to you. When God creates you, He has other people in mind. So whatever your purpose is supposed to be about other people who are supposed to benefit from your life. But I also think that the other misconception that people have is the idea that purpose is one thing. It's like, if you are a singer, then that's your purpose. It's one thing and it doesn't really evolve. But actually, I think the way I've come to understand it is that it evolves and it's multidimensional. You know, it's not really one thing that, okay, you must be a preacher. But you can be a preacher. Your purpose could be just to spread the gospel of God. And you can spread the gospel by preaching, you can spread the gospel through like YouTube videos like this one, and all of those kinds of things. It's really multidimensional. So I think a lot of people, when we think about purpose, we think about it as one thing, and as this whole one thing that we need to discover at the same time. Whereas actually it evolves. God introduces an aspect of it at one point in your life, and when you are faithful to that aspect of it, He will reveal another aspect. And as you continue growing in obedience and continue growing in pursuing that aspect of purpose that is revealed to you, He keeps on revealing more and more and more. So I don't think there's any one person who has a full picture of what their purpose is in life, but we are all just pursuing the bits that we get based on where we are in our lives at that point.
Awesome. So you mentioned the thing in your statement right now. You mentioned an example of a singer. If your purpose is to sing, then that's what you do. A question that comes into my mind right now is we have rather there is this concept of calling and purpose. Is it the same thing? Is there a difference?
I think for me, I understand it as the same thing.
Okay.
But with calling as a more religious term.
Okay.
As a more religious term. But I think it's the same. If it's not the same, there's a very close connection. Yeah.
Awesome. On your book, you also speak about purpose and identity as feeding into each other.
Yeah, sure.
Can you please explain that?
So the idea I share in the Pushed by Passion book is that when God creates a person, He creates them for a particular reason. So there's a particular purpose that He wants fulfilled on earth, and for that purpose to be fulfilled, He has to create a particular person, which is the identity part of it. So your identity fits into purpose. If you can understand who you are, the qualities that distinguish you from the other people that are around you, you are kind of closer to discovering what your purpose is, because that is like a lock and key thing.
Okay.
That this person who is the key is supposed to fulfill a particular purpose, and it's only them that can fit into that particular position that God wants filled on them. So that is a very important thing, because it's in who you are, in the skills, the abilities, the talents that God has given you as tools for you to use in fulfilling your purpose in life. So that's how identity fits into purpose.
Awesome. Now, there are people who have already discovered their purpose, but they kind of not pursuing them, or pursuing it rather. What are some of the hindrances to pursue your purpose?
Okay, that's a very good question. But let's also always keep in mind the fact that you cannot fully discover it. The discovery process is an ongoing thing. But one of the things, it's the fear. The fear, because pursuing purpose sometimes means entering into uncharted territories, doing things you've never done before, and that can be scary. That can be very tricky, and that is why to pursue purpose requires a lot of faith in the one who gave the purpose to you. So if you don't have a close relationship with God, it will be very difficult to live in the purpose of God for your life. You can discover something that you make to be your purpose, but it might not be the true purpose you have or the true purpose you were created. So the fear is one of the things. Number two, it's this issue of imitation. I think a lot of us see certain people, especially in the church. You find that we see certain people who are more at the front, and because they are praised and they are glorified and people clap hands for them, and we think that what we should be doing is that, when it's actually something else that might not require us to be in the front of the church. So sometimes it's seeing how people who are fulfilling their purpose and pursuing their purpose are being praised for that, and we want to do that. Or it's that fear of not being enough. Sometimes you feel like, God, how do you choose me to do this thing? It's the Moses effect kind of thing. Yeah. Moses comes to God and says, God, but I can't do this, I can't do that. How do you ask me to go deliver your children from Egypt? But God knew that I had put it in you to be able to deliver the people of Israel. And actually in the book, what I say is that when you look at the story of Moses, he was born and then ended up finding himself in the palace. And that was not a coincidence. It was God's plan, so that he could understand the system of Egypt, so that when he comes back, he knows what he's dealing with. But he did not see it like that. He's like, God, I cannot speak. And that's a minor thing. And God asked him, who made the one who cannot speak? So that also tells us when God creates us, he has those things built into us so that we may be able to fulfill the purpose for which he created us.
Beautiful. We have someone who has heard everything from the beginning till the end, but they still don't know how to discover their purpose. How do you discover your purpose?
Okay, that's a very big question. And I want to say that there is no one way of discovering your purpose. Because, for example, if you look at the different figures in the scriptures that discovered their purpose in life, Mary, there was an angel that came to her and was like, you're going to be pregnant with a son that's going to save the world. You are blessed, as far as and all of that. And then when you look at people like Saul, the first king of Israel, they lost donkeys. His father lost his donkeys, and then he sends him to go look for the donkeys with one of the servants of the family. And when they look, they don't find the donkeys. And they are like giving up and saying, let's go back home. And the servant says to him, before we go back home, let's go speak to Samuel the prophet and see if he cannot tell us where the donkeys are. When they get there, Samuel doesn't tell them where the donkeys are, because he actually says the donkeys are not lost. You are here so that we can, let you know that you're supposed to be the king. So that is how he bumped into his destiny. But the most important thing here is that you must have a connection, a strong relationship with your Creator. Because as Miles Monroe usually said, the purpose of a thing is in the mind of its creator. So if you do not have a connection and a strong relationship with your creator, it would be really difficult to discover your true purpose in life. Because you can discover something that you enjoy and you make it your purpose in life, but that might not be your true purpose in life. So I think that close relationship is an important thing, but also just being able to know yourself.
Yeah.
Understanding your identity. In the book, I argue that understanding your identity actually puts you much closer to discovering your purpose, because, as I said earlier, when God creates a person, He creates them for a particular purpose, and therefore He gives them certain features, certain things that would distinguish them from other people, but that would actually make them fit into the role that they have to play in the world. So I think that is a very important thing. That part of discovering your identity, understanding your gifts, your talents and abilities that God has given you, because those are tools to fulfill your purpose in life. But also, just spending time and introspecting, because purpose, when we do something that relates to our purpose, we get fulfilled. And I think that says something about what we're doing. If there's something that when you do, you get fulfilled in the process of doing it, not because of the rewards or the results of doing it, I think that is something that is closer to what your purpose is in life. So I think those three things are important.
Awesome. And I think you've already answered my follow-up question, which is how do you differentiate your purpose from your skills, God-given talents, and imposed dreams? I think you've already answered that.
Okay. So the other thing about that is that we need to understand skills, talents, and abilities and gifts.
Okay.
Those are things that God gives you. You are born with them, and sometimes you do not know it until life demands them out of you.
Okay.
That I knew that I didn't know that I was a writer until I started writing, but I was born a writer, right? But then the skills are the things that you learn to enhance the gifts and the talents that you are given, so that you can be able to fulfill your purpose in life. I have had to learn a lot about writing, even though I feel it's part of my purpose to write, right? But I've had to learn a lot about writing. I've had to give my work to other people to look at and give me feedback, I think also being a social scientist as such has also helped me to understand the process of writing, because in social sciences and the humanities we write a lot and we read a lot. So that has improved my writing, and that has enhanced my skills, but those skills are being used as part of the tools that I need to fulfill my purpose in life. So I think those are some of the things that you use to fulfill your purpose in life. But as I said earlier, your purpose is not just one thing. It's multiple things, it's multidimensional, and you discover different aspects of it as you continue living life.
Awesome. If we had time, I was going to ask you to take us through how did you get to the writing? What inspired you to write?
Oh, that's a very important one. I can answer it very shortly. So I started university as an electrical engineering student of FETS, and in the middle of it, I realized it wasn't something I was passionate about. So I got very frustrated, even with the lab work that we had to do every Friday. And I talk about that in the books. And in the middle of there, I decided I'm going to change and I'm going to go to social work, because I think that will enhance part of me that I already have, that of helping people and inspiring people. And I thought that would give me the skills that I need to be able to be effective in doing that. And I think it has done that. So I changed to social work in my second year at university, and I started excelling a lot academically, and I would do a lot of talks in schools. I would go back to my school back home and I would give, motivational talks about academic excellence. And then two of my friends, especially and Elia, wrote a book titled Before We Get Married. And that's the book that opened my eyes to the possibility of writing, because it was then that specifically told me that, Chief, you've been talking about this a lot. You've been doing a lot of these talks. Maybe you should write a book about it, because that would allow you to reach even people you might never have a chance to speak to or to stand in front of and deliver a motivational talk. So that's when I started writing, and it felt good, it felt right, because it's in that process of writing that I realized that I actually have something to say. And that Incubating Excellence book was my first book. It was followed by Push by Passion, and now I've written the Jumpstart Effect. And I think I have grown also as a writer in the process of writing these books as well. And it's evident in the books as well. Yeah, so I think basically it was my friend, so that's why the company we keep is very much important. It was my friend who inspired me, and I talk about inspiration in the Push by Passion book as the arousal of intrinsic motivation. He just ignited something that was already inside of me, but I didn't realize it. So I think that is why the company you keep is very much important, because they are also able to ignite certain things inside of you that would relate to your purpose in life as well.
Beautiful. There's something that is very interesting. Before we close, before we go, there's something that you said that at the beginning of Push by Passion, you say it's not the edge, it's passion.
Oh yeah.
Between the two, which one leads you to your purpose? Or which one is connected to your purpose?
Yeah. So in the book, the reason why I say it was not the edge, it's because the slogan of it is "Vets gives you the edge."
Okay.
So the idea that, or the way that students have interpreted that, is that Vets is difficult. So it will chow you, it will deal with you, it will mur you, as they say.
Yeah.
And when I changed from engineering to social work, a lot of people thought it's because engineering was too difficult for me. So it was because of the edge that I changed to social work, which is not really the case, because I actually passed my first year. And still I changed to something that I thought I was very passionate about. So it was not the edge, the vet's edge, that made me change, but it was actually passion that made me change.
Beautiful. And I also read that people couldn't understand, why would you change when you actually passed? Which is the thing with people, like they never understand. They believe that you change only because you failed.
Yeah.
It told you, the cost told you. That's why. So I understand. Now, the question that I've been meaning to ask, what is the disadvantage of not knowing your purpose or not living a purposeful life?
That's a very good question as well. I think number one is the fact that it's very frustrating to live a purposeless life. There's no meaning for life if there's no purpose. So that is just draining in itself. But also, people who are living purposeless lives, they do not want to see others living and fulfilling their purpose, because whenever they see someone who's living in their purpose, it's a reminder for them that there's something they're not doing right. So that is not a good space to be in. Just that lack of fulfillment and always being reminded that there's something you're not doing when you see other people, doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So it arouses jealousy.
Exactly.
In a way. Okay, so you mentioned something, you also said that it's possible that you can do something, and because people are clapping hands for you and think that that's your purpose. Is there something that you will get as a confirmation that this is it? Is there a sign? How do you know that what you're doing is your purpose?
I think when you found your purpose, you get fulfilled in the actual process of doing the thing.
Yeah.
Not only in the rewards that come with doing the thing, but it's actually in the process of doing the thing that you get fulfilled. So I think when it's not really your purpose, you will not feel as fulfilled until you get the rewards for it. I think that would be the main distinguishing factor, because purpose is what makes life meaningful. Purpose is what makes what we do fulfilling. So if it doesn't feel purposeful, it's not going to be as fulfilling. So the actual doing of it will be draining a lot, because it's not something you should be doing. It's not in you to do it. You're just doing it for the rewards and the praise and the glory that comes with it. Yeah.
Now, Mthobisi, I cannot let you go without you sharing with us, where do we get your books?
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I have 3 books. The first one is Incubating Excellence, the practical guide to achieving academic excellence, specifically for young people who are still at school, especially in matric and undergraduate university. And then the second one is the one we're talking about now, the Push by Passion, which is about the power of passion in pursuit of purpose. And the last one, which is the most exciting one for me, as the most recent book, is titled The Jumpstart Effect, Why Human Connections Matter. So you can get those books directly from me or from InspiWords, which is also a page online, the publishing company that I started. So you can get us at inspi.publishers or at Mthobisi Ndaba on all social media platforms. Then you can order directly from us there as well. Even our WhatsApp number is on those pages.
Awesome. And if a person wants to directly speak to you, where can they get you on social medias?
Yeah, social media at Mthobisi Ndaba.
Okay.
Both on Twitter, and I'm not very active on Twitter, but I'm there. And also on Instagram at Mthobisi Ndaba. Even on Facebook, my page is at Mthobisi Ndaba or at inspi.publishers.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for coming. I hope that you learned a lot from this conversation. I did. And if you have any questions, do pop them down below on our comments. But Mthobisi will definitely answer them on those comments. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, we are having a part 2 of the same conversation. Do subscribe and like, share, and comment. We hope to see you soon. Goodbye.